It's performed to give us both a big picture view of county statistics as well as a really specific examination of our recruitment and hiring practices. And then finally, both of our plans detail our objectives and goals for ensuring our commitment to affirmative action. County demographic information is gathered, and then we then compare it against the Sioux Falls metropolitan statistical area, which is what our available labor workforce is, to see how we compare to what's available to us. And this comparison gives us the opportunity to see how we compare, and then also to identify any patterns or data that might indicate a potential discriminatory impact in our employment practices. Though we strive to always achieve a one-to-one ratio of county employment to workforce availability, the OFCCP recognizes this isn't statistically likely, so they have supported an 80% rule, which says as long as your workforce meets 80% of what's available, that's acceptable. So we're going to use the 80% rule, but of course our ultimate goal would always be a one-to-one ratio. Our next two charts take a look at county demographics against that Sioux Falls MSA. The first compares county minority employees against workforce availability, and employees are categorized based on job groups. And if we don't have a one-to-one ratio, then we say a goal does need to be established. So there are three areas that we did not have one-to-one ratio, and those are officials, skilled craft, and technicians. However, all three of these job groups are very small. In each instance, if we were to hire only one minority employee, we would meet our goal. The next chart compares female incumbency to workforce availability. Again, there are three areas where we miss that one-to-one ratio. In one of the areas, the skilled craft area, hiring just one female would satisfy our underutilization. There are two areas, service maintenance and technicians, where we are slightly underutilized. So we have set a goal in both of those areas. For all of the job groups, we do review our recruitment information, hiring, and termination practices to analyze and make sure that we are not discriminating in any way, and we have little concern of any discrimination in our practices. And we do remain committed to affirmative action, and we'll continue to work toward meeting our workforce availability. This last graph just takes a look at kind of a big picture view of the minority population, employee population to workforce availability. Minnehaha County employee is the dark blue column. Workforce availability is light blue. So you can see in all areas we're above or very close to what our workforce tells us is available. The final plan that we prepare is for veterans and individuals with disabilities. This plan does not focus on specific data like the first plan does, but we do report on our veteran employees. We show 29 veteran employees currently at Minnehaha County, and the chart breaks them up by job group. The greatest job group is the service workers, which is comprised primarily of sheriff's office employees. I do want to note, though, that only employees who chose to self-identify as veterans would be included in this report. It also doesn't include anyone who is active military or reservist, as they're not likely yet a veteran. So even though 29 may seem a little low, there's certainly more employees employed here who are in the military. Lastly, we have our ongoing goals and objectives. I'm not going to go through these in specific today because, of course, you have all of this information available to you, but I do want to say that we set specific goals and objectives so that we can indicate that affirmative action isn't just something that we do once a year when we have to file this report. We are committed to addressing it at all times and focused on ensuring our non-discriminatory practices. That's just kind of an overview of the plan. Again, I wanted to thank the Diversity Committee for meeting with us last month, and for Commissioner Kelly for coming to that meeting and going through all that specific data. Again, this is just a review of the plan. I'll ask for your formal approval next week, and until then, of course, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jen. Do you have any questions?
Okay,
Looks like you're good until next week.
Item 6 is the application for abatement. Pam Nelson.
Morning.
Morning, Pam.
Today I have 6 abatements. They're all for the elderly property tax assessment or disabled property tax assessment freeze. I have ID number 28453 for $333.24. I have ID 36113 for $463.04. I have ID 39890 for $1,182.44. I have ID 48977 for $388.53. I have ID 57973 for $581.84. and I have ID number 75097 for $265.50. Most of these people are well into their 80s.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions of Pam?
Mr. Chair, I will have a question, but I'd like to approve these first. So
Absolutely.
I'll make a motion to approve all of them.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Barth?
Pam, we've been doing equalization hearings, and we had one couple that was worried about being taxed out of their home. What value of, say, residential property can they have and still apply for the elderly tax freeze?
Property value is what you
Yeah.
want to know? The property can be valued at no more than $178,607.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Income guideline, $26,000 for $20 for a single person, combined income household, $35,525. We also have the homestead exemption program, which means that if you're over 70 years old, the county can't take your property. But if you apply for the homestead exemption, then at the time of disposal of that property, all the taxes are due and payable at 4% interest, but they don't have to pay any of the taxes while they're living there until after they dispose of the property. That's also available. There's also a veterans program available for people who have 100% disability, and then they would forgive the first $100,000 of the value for taxing purposes. So there is help out there.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second to approve. I think we can take these as a group, item A through F. If not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item are notices and requests. A notice has been received from the East Dakota Water Development District of their meeting at 9:30 a.m. on Thursday at the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems Office, 203 Center Street West, Madison, South Dakota. There are no planning and zoning notices today, and there are no petition for compromise of lien. The next item is opportunity for public comment.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to discuss any items that are not on the agenda? No one's moving forward, so we'll go to the disaster declaration. Good morning.
Commissioners, Linda Young, Emergency Management. I guess if it's okay with you, the way I'd like to handle this is just I'll give a quick overview, and then I would ask each of the representatives that are here from the Sheriff's Office, the Highway Department, Metro Communications, and then the city to come up and give a little piece of information that they might have. And then at the end, if we could approach the disaster declaration and take care of that matter. So, Commissioners, as you know, on April 9th, Minnehaha County and the communities within Minnehaha County were affected by a severe winter storm. As a result of that storm, in the overnight hours, it became pretty clear that the Emergency Operations Center would need to be opened and staffed and operated. That happened at approximately 8:30 on Tuesday morning, and that operation has been continuous since that event. Members from Emergency Management, the Commission Office, our rural communities, Metro 911, the County Highway Office, the Sheriff's Office, City, Fire, Rescue, Police, EMS, Public Works, and all of those have been participating in the recovery event since then. Specifically, and like I said, I'll bring up the other agencies in emergency management activities. Our office was staffed by volunteers during the emergency response. We provided volunteers to the Sheriff's Office to assist in his operation. We provided situation updates to the Commission Office for facility closure. Provided staff to the EOC during the incident. We are currently coordinating with FEMA for the disaster declaration process, not only with the City of Sioux Falls, but our rural communities, and we will be working with FEMA to coordinate the preliminary damage assessment that will happen later on. The Commission Office during this event provided EOC staff for PIO operations during the event. Within our rural communities, the rural fire stations were staffed 24/7 for emergency events and requirements of their communities out there. We've also worked with our smaller communities that are at greatest effect last week, and we'll have another meeting with them. FEMA wants to meet with them directly this afternoon. And then the County Highway, and I'll ask them to come up in a little while, has also and will also support them in their cleanup operations if and when they choose. All agencies are assisting Sioux Valley Energy or have assisted Sioux Valley Energy and the energy companies in restoration efforts for power for our community. And both the highway and the sheriff's office have also assisted in staffing of the EOC and then other emergency activities during the event. So as you know, this event once again started on April 9th. The debris removal will be the big component of this event, and to put a dollar value on that is going to be extremely difficult because we just don't know what the volume is. We are working through that process, however, with FEMA, and as that process goes forward, we'll provide additional updates and information to the Commission on how that works. But at the end of this, we'll ask you to declare disaster does exist in Minnehaha County for this event. Up until then, I'll ask the Sheriff to come up and then DJ followed by the City to give a specific update on how their agencies are working to restore our community back to what it was before April 9th.
Good morning again.
Good morning again, Commissioners, and I think I'll just give kind of a law enforcement update. I actually worked side by side with Chief Barthel, Captain Joffer with the South Dakota Highway Patrol in our emergency operations and the event that started for us on the morning of Tuesday. And that is, obviously, all of our agencies were tasked to the extreme. When a live power line goes down, for example, with Captain Joffer, a live power line goes down on I-29 at T, and it's down, for most of the day. It's a significant impact on traffic, not only on the highways, but when they had to divert everything off of onto 41st Street, and then it was out to Highway 17. We had incidents with line going down near Ellis where, it was days, not hours, that we had officers assigned to that detail. So, we've been stretched to the limit, but it's interesting to see how well government can work together, not only within the EOC where you see the city, the county, and the state working together on all of these, and it's still a buzz over there, but also out in the field. You wouldn't know who the city policeman is, or the state trooper, or the deputy sheriff on these things other than their uniform, because they're all, trying to best serve the public in those areas, and they're working together. It does stretch us to the limit, but that's the business that we're in. I think we were well prepared for this. I think all those EOC meetings that we've gone through, all the training that we've done, every time we have something listed, it improves our ability to react in a coordinated fashion. As you tour through the county, and if you haven't had an opportunity to go out in the county and assess some of that damage as a commission, if you can find the time or jump in with me, whatever, you will notice that as you go into communities like Hartford, there's some minor ice damage, but they got quite a bit of snow. Del Rapids, all snow, but as you move south, it gets a little worse towards Baltic. But then you get into Sioux Falls that you've all seen, especially your older neighborhoods, Terrace Park, McKinnon Park, some of those neighborhoods in particular, devastated. It looks like a tornado came through and just didn't hit the houses. Valley Springs, much the same way. A lot of damage in Valley Springs. Sherman, small community, but I don't know that there's a tree that went untouched in Sherman. So, and Brandon has significant damage. So there's a lot of work ahead of us. And obviously, when you're blocking roads and taking trees out and doing all that they'll be doing, there will be a large demand on law enforcement resources. We brought our inmate crews out yesterday to start working with emergency management in the city and county to work on school district property, just loading branches on county trucks and city trucks as well. So that will be a long process. I appreciate, I see Scott Wicks here with the fair. He planned on those inmate workers to be there Monday, like they have been regularly, and he quickly understood, said, Mike, I know where they're needed. I want to, take them and go and that's the priority. So I appreciate the fair giving up those, the inmate laborers for a while. Department of Corrections, I talked with Warden Weber, and very willing and worked with the city, and now they have 150-man crew already working, and they're looking at a second one out of Yankton. So there's a lot of law enforcement and corrections involvement in this. Financially, it's probably going to be kind of difficult. We're doing as much as we can with our existing staffing levels, and really we haven't accumulated much overtime over this. We're trying to keep our levels down as much as we can, but there is an impact on the demand for our service. So with that, DJ, maybe you can.
Thank you, Mike. DJ Boothie, Highway Superintendent. I think Lynn and Mike did a pretty good job of summarizing the events with their departments, and it holds true for our department too. At the Highway Department, 100% of our staff have been working basically nonstop since last Tuesday. That includes our administrative personnel in the office. They've been receiving over 100 calls a day since last Wednesday, which is probably 10 times more than what they typically receive in any given day under normal operations. We've had guys cancel PTO that they had scheduled just so they can keep at the office and help. We've had all of our trucks out at any given time. We've also done a fairly good job of managing our overtime. We had a little bit last week, and we'll have a little bit again this week on a voluntary basis. We're not making the overtime mandatory, but just to try to keep ahead of the cleanup and get as much work done as possible. With the emergency declaration, we're offering overtime so people can come in on Friday and Saturday this week. There were some people in on Friday last week on a voluntary basis to help out. We've been assisting the townships, the municipalities, the school districts. This week so far we've been cleaning school district sites inside the city limits of Sioux Falls, both Sioux Falls School District and Sioux Falls Catholic and Sioux Falls Christian. We've been at, I think yesterday we were at 19 school sites, and I believe that there's 33 or 34 inside the city limits of Sioux Falls, and we'll get those finished up by lunchtime today. And after that, we'll be helping out with the city of Sioux Falls' effort in neighborhoods and working in the northeast part of town. After that, we intend on helping out with some of the county properties. I know we're going to be at JDC later today too, and then I believe next week we're going to be hitting our own county roads and making sure that the right-of-ways are picked up within the county. We have last week responded to quite a few tree calls that were over county highways or over township roads that we made a number of quick stops at just to clear the road, but we didn't necessarily clear the right-of-way, so there's a lot of trees in the ditches. Other than that, like I said, just reiterate, almost all of our equipment's been out since last Wednesday. We haven't had any breakdowns. We haven't had any injuries, and people's morale is really high right now. They just love getting in there and helping out. This is what we do, and this is what we work for, is to serve the public, and our guys are really happy to do that. So with that, I think I'm going to pass it to Mark Cotter, or Regan, looks like.
Regan Smith, City of Sioux Falls. I think Lynn has really encapsulated a lot of the initial response. We are primarily at a debris removal point at this time. Our EOC has been operational for a week, and it's actually probably ramped up significantly in the last couple of days as we get more resources on scene. We do have city crews all out and about, and I think, Mark, if you want to turn that, or if you show, we've got the city sectored into 4 areas. We've got city crews working with contractors, state DOC inmates, and then also State Department of Transportation resources in those areas, working 12 hours a day. We're continually assessing to figure out how we can get more resources working efficiently and trying to figure out the best use there. We do also have probably about 30 arborist crews working out in the area. Our PIO group, definitely the county's helped us out there, and that's been great. The Helpline Center's been very engaged and taking calls from the public, informing the public, and they will be leading our volunteer effort as we put that together here in the next few days. Red Cross Shelter is not operational at this point. It's available to open if needed, but that was used throughout the week, and we think we've got those needs met at this time. With that, I think that's just a quick overview. We did give you I think you've been out and about, we did give you a picture book so you can get an idea of the extent of it. Here's a map to show you, just to let you know it's a density map, and those are tracks the calls that we're coming in from the public as far as down trees. The green is the lightest, moving up similar to weather map. To orange is the highest density area. So that's where we're concentrating our efforts. We've been out on all the artilleries and snow routes, and now we are moving into the neighborhoods. With that, Mark and I would take any questions.
Any questions for any of the individuals who spoke?
If I could, I just want to bring Darren Ketchum up too.
Absolutely.
Because I think they experienced a significant amount, and then I've got a couple things before we finish up.
Good morning, Commissioners. Darren Ketchum, Metro Communications. As Lynn and the Sheriff and Mark and Regan have talked about, certainly the last week has been taxing on resources. However, I think with the preparation prior to the event, we've certainly been able to meet the demand. Over the 9th through the 11th, your 911 center handled approximately 5,000 telephone calls. On a typical day, you would see between 600 and 700. So you're really seeing, triple the volume that we normally do. Throughout the event, we doubled our staffing efforts. We had about 15 people running nearly 24 hours a day. It doesn't happen often. Just as a comparison, I mean, this is a much larger event for us than was Tornado Tuesday. So we've seen quite a bit of work. We're back to normal now. We're seeing that call volume steady out at about 700 to 750. We do continue to receive downline calls and tree calls, but not to the extent that we have in the past. But looking forward to getting this event behind us. We've been providing personnel and resources to support the recovery efforts, and certainly would answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Darren? Commissioner Kelly?
Just a comment. I don't know if any of the others had an opportunity to go over and watch the EOC in operation, but I did go over there and observe for a couple hours, and I have no doubt that we can handle about any crisis here. It was really an efficient operation. They all worked together. There was, I don't know, there must have been 25 computers in that room. It was an impressive operation, and you're right, all the training and everything else that's been done now came to fruition, and I think it went quite well. And I think, we're just in debris cleanup now. We've gotten all the rest of the stuff done, and the way they got the power lines back up, so I commend you for that.
The one I forgot about is our GIS and planning was also on Friday. They went out to our rural communities and GIS'd and did a damage assessment photographically so we can map that on theirs, and I forgot about them. They're not here today. So the other thing, both DJ and the Sheriff's Office discussed a little bit about is overtime and tracking. We have discussed with their individual accountings and their personnel on how that works and to track man hours separately from equipment hours. One of the things that we are learning is obviously FEMA and the federal government change all the time, and our FEMA representative in yesterday discussed the the Sandy Recovery Act, and that's as a result of Superstorm Sandy that was on the East Coast earlier this year, and they're just in the process of changing some of those things. Not all of the rules are published yet. Not all the information is published yet, but we're going to try to use that to our advantage also, that if the rules are different because of that, and we can enhance our capability. So we will be, like I said, both city and county tracking all of our hours so that those can be recovered if and when the process follows through. So with that, I'd take any questions. on the process on anything, and we can direct them to the specific agencies. And once again, at the end, I have included a disaster declaration, and I would ask for a motion and a roll call vote on that if possible. So any questions, please?
Any questions or comments for Lynn? Commissioner Heiberger?
Just, Lynn, do we know what the percentage of reimbursement from FEMA is and how much the county and the city might be responsible for at the end, or is that now in flux because of changes?
Typically, the FEMA does 75%, and then the local government would be 15%, and the state would be 10%. However, our representative last night was telling us that they are doing some changes, potentially as I discussed, as a result of the Sandy Act, and they're basically looking at changing it to performance-based, or could be performance-based, no less than 75%, but say if you walk in and get it all done in a short time period, it could be as high as 85%.
Okay.
So it's within that range, but the typical is 75 federal. And loss to critical infrastructure, trees, and threaten the health and safety of residents within Minnehaha County. And whereas the winter storm will require extensive debris removal within Minnehaha County, now therefore be it resolved by the Minnehaha County Board of Commissioners that they do hereby request that Minnehaha County be designated a disaster area due to the severe winter storm and debris removal conditions. And be it further resolved by the Minnehaha County Board of Commissioners request the governor of the state of South Dakota to declare an emergency/disaster to exist in the county of Minnehaha, dated the 16th day of April 2013.
Move for a roll call vote. Thank you, Lynn. We do need a roll call vote. Cindy?
Commissioner Barth?
Aye.
Heiberger?
Yes.
Kelly?
Aye.
Pecos?
Aye.
Benega?
Aye. Motion unanimously passes. Again, thank you to everybody. You guys are absolutely troopers and professional people, and we're proud to be part of your group, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, and once again, I know there's an open invitation that if you want to see any of the operations, just get a hold of us directly. It sure keeps that morale boost going, and we'll go from there. So thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay, we'll move on to regular business. Item number 10 is a public hearing to consider application from Sioux Valley Cycle Club for a special event malt beverage license for Sioux Falls Mud Run, June 8th, 2013, at 25868 477th Avenue, Sioux Falls. And the application has been received in the auditor's office. The event is a 5K loop competition race. A portion of the proceeds for the event will be given to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. The application has been reviewed by the Sheriff's Department, State's Attorney's Office, and Planning Department, and there were no objections reported. And Dan from Sioux Valley Cycle Club is here today to answer any questions you have about the event. And the action that we are requesting is for the approval of the special malt beverage license.
I didn't see Dan.
He's right there.
Oh. It's too bad you weren't any closer. Sorry. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning. Dan Greider with Sioux Valley Cycle Club. I think you're quite aware of what we're doing on June 8th. Available to answer any questions or concerns you may have.
Any questions for Dan?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's a public hearing, so do we need to have those opposed?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know that we need to do anything with this, correct? If it's a public
Yeah.
hearing?
It's a public hearing. You need to see if anyone
Oh.
wants to.
Opponents.
Opponents.
Are there any opponents?
Is there any opponents to the application? Doesn't look like there's a big crowd for that. Good.
All right.
Now we need a motion.
Motion to
And a
approve.
second. We get that?
Yep.
Okay, now we can move ahead. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion unanimously passes. Thank you for your patience.
Item number 11 is to authorize the chairman to sign an agreement in the amount of $40,000 with Civil Designs Incorporated from Brookings for preliminary engineering and plan preparation services to replace bridge structure 50-215-010 northeast of Del Rapids on 245th Street. DJ Boothie.
Good morning, Commissioners. DJ Boothie, Highway Superintendent. This bridge, or this project, is one of the projects that was identified in a briefing a few weeks ago or last month. that was not originally part of our 2013 budget. This agreement is for the design of the project to replace an existing structure with a box culvert on the northeast corner of Del Rapids. It's right at the city limits, right down the street from a school. The existing bridge was built in 1933, has a federal sufficiency rating of 35. It's in very, very poor shape, and because of its location and proximity to public school in Del Rapids, we've made this a very high priority. It's a relatively inexpensive project, estimated right now at about $350,000 to complete construction, and so I would recommend approval of this agreement. If you have any questions, I can answer them at this time.
Any questions for DJ? Commissioner Heiberger?
I think it was in your memo, but could you just publicly state about when you think you will start the project and complete it?
We hope to begin the project probably sometime in July, I would guess, and then it will be completed more than likely in September.
Okay, thank you.
If I might, DJ, do you think that there's going to be any displacement, if you will, of other projects with this one being moved up in the process?
That is going to be up to the commission because this was not a budgeted item. That basically we're going to ask for an extra dollar amount at the end of the year to subsidize these projects that weren't previously budgeted for.
Okay.
But under the current plan, it's being paid for with previously budgeted items.
Correct.
Have a motion?
We have a motion.
No, we need a motion.
I just made a motion.
Oh, okay.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions for DJ? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Commissioner Barth abstains.
Item number 12 is to authorize the purchase of metal pipe culverts and bridge materials from True North Steel out of Huron through a contract competitively bid and awarded by Beetle County. DJ Boothie.
Commissioners, as part of the purchasing committee's new procedures that were instated, I think towards the end of last year, maybe the beginning of this year, we've worked with, several counties have worked with Beetle County to advertise and let a contract that will work for multiple counties, and other counties are using the bid that was awarded by Beetle County. And typically, a culvert bid is the most labor-intensive bid to put together because there's so many different variations of pipe that can be purchased. And so that looked like it would be the most obvious one for us to work together this first go-around and make sure that everybody could save as much effort and time as possible. And so Beetle County let this January 7th, or awarded it January 7th, and it was awarded to True North Steel out of Huron. And prices are very, very similar to what we've seen historically, and a very competitive bid. So we encourage you to approve the authorization to purchase off of that contract.
Thank you. Any questions for DJ? Comments? I would just make one. I certainly appreciate your cooperative effort with the other groups that got involved in this, because I do think that makes it more efficient for all of us, and I appreciate the extra effort that you went through to make that happen. So thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second. We have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 13 is to authorize the chairman to sign a revised management agreement for W.H. Lyon Fairgrounds between Minnehaha County and Sioux Empire Fair Association. Scott Wick.
Good morning, Scott Wick, Sioux Empire Fair Association.
Do you want to summarize, or?
Well, we met with buildings at the April meeting, and we brought this to your attention because we ran into a couple different issues with our audit. The I. Bailey came in and the auditor said the way we're set up, we really only have a 5-year contract, and we should be depreciating things out over the shortest amount of the lease, which is 5 years, which wasn't very effective for us with our capitalized leasehold improvements. So they said one thing to remedy that, if we had a lease that was automatically renewing, that would allow us to stick with the general accepted accounting practices of long-term depreciation. So that was one key point
And the other point was, as we move forward and try to get larger donors and sponsors, this is a step in the right direction to say, hey, we're here beyond 5 years. We have this automatic renewal now, and if you want to naming rights on a building, donate a building, do bigger and larger things, we have the capability now to say, we have a history of longevity here, and we're here to stay.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Any questions, comments?
Is there any provision for a 30-day out or a 60-day out on either party's side, or is this?
90 days.
90 days. So this does not lock us in if there was a major problem?
No, 90-day written notice on both parties.
Thank you. Other questions? If not, I need a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second with a question, I guess.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Barth?
Does the state's attorney have any issues here?
No issues. Dick brought up the 90-day mutual out. That's on the account of any party. I believe what Scott mentioned was just the primary concern, in that, putting into place that renewing option will allow them greater flexibility with some of those accounting issues and sponsorship issues. So no concerns.
Other questions? If not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 14 is to authorize the chairman to sign agreements with GNR Controls for $47,400, Beatty Forsyth HVAC for $48,700, and Balancing Professionals Incorporated for $33,485 for Expo Building Air Handling Modification Project. Total project, $129,085. Scott Wick.
Any comments in reference to that?
We went through this at Buildings again, and this is a project that was, approved when we went through the budget for capital improvements at the fairgrounds last year, and these are the quotes that came in. Kim McFarland said we had to get a couple quotes for each segment of this project. So if there's any questions, I do have Rob DeWitt with Beatty Forsyth here, in case anybody has any questions, but upon approval of this, they'll get started right away on this, and we should be done by probably the end of May.
Any questions for Scott?
Increase the air quality greatly in the Expo building.
Okay. Any questions for Scott or for Rob? If not, need a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Rob.
Mr. Chair, could I ask Scott a quick question while he's here?
Sure.
Scott, how are we doing on the Nordstrom building?
Excuse me, the Nordstrom building, the gas will be hooked up for free. The gas company was out and did an assessment on cost recovery of what it costs to get the gas to the building. And that's a 5-year recovery for them, so they did call me and say that will be done for free. We still have water, sewer, and electric to go in, and the cost of that is right around the $20,000 range. So we're working with some different, Xcel Energy. I applied for a grant with those folks. Looked at a couple other things and talking to Kenny Anderson with the city council, and there's some agencies, if we didn't have services there, they'd help out, but the services are already there, so it's just a hookup. So we're still trying to raise funds for that, get private donations, and move forward. So that, once water, sewer, electric is hooked up, it's fully operational.
Commissioner Heiberger.
Just a comment, public comment, and the Nordstrom Johnson building is a donation to the fairgrounds by the Nordstrom Johnson family, and it is for the community, hopefully, to donate money to finish this project. It's not coming from county funds, it's coming from donations from the community to get this going, and it has a lot of uses for the county and hopefully some revenue sources for the, or not for the county, but revenue sources for the fairground. So appreciate your donations.
I think we're done now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 15 is consider a motion to authorize the Sheriff's Department to submit a grant application in the amount of $34,077 through the South Dakota Department of Public Safety 2014 Highway Safety Grant Program. Kristen Trana.
Good morning. I'm Kristen Trana, Administrative Coordinator for the Sheriff's Office. I come before you today with a series of grant application requests. The first one is for the 2014 Highway Safety Program. This is a grant that we use partially for equipment purchases, we're able to have 80% of the radar systems that we install into our cars be reimbursed through this federal grant that is facilitated through the state. And so we are hoping to purchase 5 radar systems off this grant. And then also we use it to reimburse overtime that is used for alcohol, saturation patrols, also sobriety checkpoints, seat belts, saturation patrols that we do, and then also some of our, they call it party patrol. So when we have the street dances out in the county, things like that, to be able to have that additional staff on to make sure that the citizens of Minnehaha County are safe. So what we are requesting to, what we're requesting through the grant would be $34,077. Like I said, the radar portion is going to be a 20% match by the county, and we plan for that in our budget. But and then the actual overtime is actually just a soft match, and so that is our normal budgeted covers that. So.
Thank you, Kristen. Any questions for her? If not, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve, excuse me, the Department of Public Safety grant for $34,077. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes.
Item 16 is consider a motion to authorize the Sheriff's Department to submit a grant application through the Office of Justice Programs 2013 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant. Kristen Trana.
Good morning. The Office of Justice Programs Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant is a national program to encourage, to assist departments in properly equipping their officers with bulletproof vests. We are on a 5-year cycle with our vests. That is what the NIJ standards recommend for when they get to the point where they're obsolete. And so at this point, we're looking at needing to replace 12 vests this year, or for this grant year, and it can match up to 50%, but because of the size of our county, we don't receive that large of grants. But it's still one of those things that it's nice to have the assistance from the federal government to help cover those costs. So.
Thank you. Any questions for Kristen? Commissioner Heiberger?
Kristen, do we have money in our budget for 2013 to cover the cost of those vests?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I would move approval.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes.
And item 17 is consider a motion to authorize the Sheriff's Department to submit a grant application for the 2013 State Criminal Alien Assistance Program. Kristen Trana.
We call this one the SCAP grant. This is one that is awarded to the jail. This is one that we don't know what the amount is going to be. I work with IT. IT is incredible with working for this because we go through and there are certain standards that, and it is those that are undocumented citizens, or not citizens, and undocumented residents of the United States that we've arrested and incarcerated. And so what this is that we can recoup some of those costs that we've had associated with those people. And so they have to meet certain criminal requirements and certain length of stay requirements, and so I really appreciate the work that we have with IT. And we are able to get a pretty large amount of money usually through this because of the size of our county and the inmates that we house. Now, with the federal funds going the way they are, the money is decreasing, but it's still a great program that we're able to participate in. Last year we received $37,024, so we're hoping, but until all of the applications are processed and then they allocate those dollars, we don't know what we would receive.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Kristen?
Move to approve the grant application.
Second.
A motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Thank you.
Thank you so
for your
much.
patience.
The next item is Minnehaha County Commissioner Liaison Reports.
Any of the commissioners have a liaison report they'd like to give?
I've got an update on Metro Council. I spoke with Mr. Ketchum at the beginning of the meeting, and we've actually postponed the Metro management meeting, the mayor and Jim Intamin are a little bit involved with picking up the damage from the storm, so we're going to postpone that.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner?
Thursday, I'm going to skip the East Dakota Water District meeting because we've rescheduled our equalization hearing that morning.
Thursday or
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
It's Wednesday.
Sorry.
It's Wednesday.
Oh, it's Wednesday, okay.
That's good, because I just showed up the wrong day.
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
Okay, any other reports? If not, we'll go to new business.
I have an item.
Commissioner Kelly?
There's two parts to this item. The first is, I think it's appropriate, it'd be appropriate for us to send a thank you letter to the energy companies. Yesterday, coming back from the farm, I noticed like 8 or 10 trucks headed south that were probably Kansas City or Omaha that they'd released because they got the power back. But I think it'd be appropriate to all those, including XL and including Southeast, is that what it is? Whatever. But that we send a letter from the commission to them just thanking them for their work, because they really worked to get us back in power. The second thing is that in May, sometime in May, I think we should do a proclamation of recognizing all the county employees and the volunteers around here that helped us through this effort.
Very appropriate.
No, if I can just echo on that. You know, there was some, at least in my sister's neighborhood, there were some kids from, high school kids from Lincoln and O'Gorman that were going around hauling huge logs, which, you know, how many high school students would like to, on a day off from school, like to go out in the cold and start dragging sticks to the curb? But, you know, there are a lot of unsung heroes in our community that, quite frankly, have the strength and the ability to lift some of those logs where some of us don't have that ability anymore. So it's kind of nice when a neighbor helps you out. Is that what your motion's kind of talking about, Dick?
Yeah, and you're kind of young, so you don't have the ability to haul logs.
Until your back goes out, I'll tell you what.
Well, I guess I could put that form of motion that we send a thank you letter to the energy companies that brought in, and including the local energy companies, on behalf of the commission.
I would second that motion with a comment.
Of course.
I think we could have them even come in and thank them in person, actually.
Some
I
of
think
them aren't
that's
from
asking too
around
much,
here.
yeah. Kansas City.
Well, you know, there's a lot, I mean, Midco's been stressed. There's been a lot in there. I don't know if we can, because without power, we're really in a problem.
Yeah.
I'll say.
I thought it'd be appropriate, I saw a couple of those guys down by my son's house, and they were from Kansas City, and so I talked to them for a few minutes and thanked them. But I just thought after I saw those trucks going by, that we really ought to send something out. I think we should do more in May, more broad,
Sure.
to cover all these people.
Very appropriate. I think we all know the sense of the motion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Robert, do you want to take care of that, and we'll get that process going? Any other new business?
Mr. Chair, I have something completely different.
Okay, certainly.
You know, just many of our colleagues around the state and even in our own building here have attended NACO events. And I think, you know, Jim Schmidt was just raving about it at our spring workshop. Julie Risty has been out there. I certainly benefited from going to their legislative conference some 6 years ago. And I would really like to ask if we could find a way to send one or two of our fellow commissioners, perhaps Cindy and yourself, Mr. Chair, to the state convention, the national convention for National Association of County Officials. I believe it would be to our benefit, and I think Minnehaha County should be represented at this. We have people from Shannon County and Fall River County and Brookings County that go to these things. I think Fall River County, they've only got 800 taxpayers or something, and they send a guy every year. Anyway, we're still, even on the national level, a pretty small county. Some of these counties have budgets $2-3 billion a year, and some are much smaller. But NACO has a lot of things that could help all of us, and I would encourage us as a group to send 1 or 2 people, and then maybe 1 a year after this.
Okay. Comments? Commissioner Peckus?
I think that continuing education as I get older becomes more and more important, and I agree with everything Commissioner Barr said, but I think that's also going to be completely contingent on whether or not the budget season would allow for any travel. I know that we routinely cut travel in continuing education when we have tough budget years, and obviously before I would ever pigeonhole or silo commissioner travel, I would say that's absolutely travel that would be lumped in with all the other departments that have to revisit their travel budgets as well. And I'm assuming that would be what you were considering too, Jeff.
But Commissioner Kelly?
I agree with John that I don't know. I kind of have a negative attitude about these national conventions because a lot of the delegates there are people that are positioning for leadership positions within NACO. A lot of the things that I think I've seen, at least, and I think the only one I went to one with the state legislature and one with the city, but they're trying to sell you motor graders and sirens, stuff that we have others in our whole division or whole county organization taking care of. We don't, as a commission, get into those specifics. There are a lot of opportunities, a lot of online opportunities, and frankly, I mean, if we're going to spend money, I think it's more important to be attending the state conventions, which normally we only have 1 or 2 up there, and that's where I would like to see the money spent, or in trips to Pier when during the legislature, than in limited resources put it towards national.
Other comments? Why don't we do this at this point? Robert, why don't you give us some information about what was put into the budget for travel and training, so to speak, for commissioners, if there was any, and then we can report back on where we're at financially, and we'll decide what our priorities are. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Any old business? No old business. I believe we need to recess into executive session for personnel
And
issues.
litigation.
And litigation, thank you.
Make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recess into exec session for personnel and litigation issues. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Thank you.
Darren? You're going to do great. Don't worry. You look wonderful. Just one second.
We had the snow gates in our area over by Edison School. And we don't have anybody on the east side of us, so we don't have to worry about cars parking over there. But the snow gates did a real good job